The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Carl, I'm going to release an audio tonight. We're going to move quickly, Carl. I'm going to release an audio tonight that I've been taking a poll, and most of the people are not aware of this, Carl. And it happened when Obama was campaigning back in 2008. I happen to remember it, and it's just passed. It's just been sitting on the side. And with the anniversary of Martin Luther King and his famous speech, I thought about it, and I did some more research. Carl, I'm going to play a little bit of an audio. It's it's about 2 minutes long. If you bear with me, Carl, we're going to listen to it together with the audience, okay?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
That sent a shout across oceans, so that my grandfather began to imagine something different for his son. And his son, who grew up herding goats in a small village in Africa, could suddenly set his sights a little higher and suddenly believe that maybe a black man in this world had a chance. And what happened in Selma, Alabama and Birmingham also stirred the conscience of the nation. And it worried folks in the White House who said, you know, we're battling communism. How are we going to win the hearts and minds all across the world if right here in our own country, John, we're not observing the ideals that are set forth in our Constitution? We might be accused of being hypocrites. So the Kennedys decided we're going to do an airlift. We're going to go out to Africa, and we're going to start bringing young Africans over to this country and give them scholarships to study so that they can learn what a wonderful country America is. And this young man named Barack Obama got one of those tickets and came over to this country. And he met this woman whose great-great-great-great-grandfather had owned slaves, but she had a different idea. There's some good craziness going on, because they looked at each other and they decided, we know that in the world as it has been, it might not be possible for us to get together and have a child. But something's stirring across the country because of what happened in Selma, Alabama, because some folks are willing to march across a bridge. And so they got together, and Barack Obama Jr. was born. So don't tell me I don't have a claim on Selma.
Okay, Carl, I stopped it there. What did you think of that?
Well, how many lies did we catch him in right there? And isn't it amazing? One of the lies goes straight to his birth narrative. The march on Selma, Alabama, or from Selma to Montgomery, I think it was 1965, wasn't it?
Correct, Carl. It started on March 25th. It took 5 days, 56 miles, and that was 1965.
Right, and he was supposed to have been born in 1961, so he's certainly, it sounds to me like he told a big fat whopper.
Oh, you mean that birth certificate that's on the White House website that the Obots say is the correct one?
I suppose so. Oh goodness, there's just so much to this story. My head is full of details of information from the investigation, and I have to be so careful what I say and what I don't say. So much of it I'm still not allowed to reveal. But I was on the phone with Mike Zullo today. He's still uncovering astounding information, and this thing marches forward. It's amazing when it is finally brought forward. Hopefully, in a congressional investigation, I think the world is going to be stunned at what they see.
You know, Carl, I played that audio. It's very clear. I'm going to play it again. It's actually a YouTube video. You can see Obama. I want everybody to be clear. We just heard Barack Obama state that because of the march on Selma, Alabama, March 25th, 1965, where he claims his parents met on a bridge, is the result of him being here today, of his birth, March 25th, 1965. You know, I guess this is just going to be another publisher's error, editor's error, a misspeech. Everything is a mistake, an error about Obama. We're not buying it. I'm sorry. It's over. If you haven't heard this audio, I will have the link on my website tonight. You can hear it again. So,
right.
You were speaking about Mike Zullo, and you spoke to him about further information. Carl, I happen to know about an encounter that you had last week because I happened to had spoken to Mike the same day about an OBOT, apparently a desperate OBOT having a conversation with Mike Zulu. Would you elaborate, please?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I will elaborate on that. I'm not going to use his name, the OBOT's name. There's no reason why I couldn't. I just don't want to give him any free publicity. I don't think he's worthy of it. He's pretty irrelevant in so many ways, but he desperately wants to be relevant, and it's quite comical watching him dance around, in my humble opinion. But I was on the phone with Mike Zullo, and Mike and I talk almost every day, sometimes several times a day. And sometime back, Michael, it was a week or so ago, I don't remember, but not too long ago, I was on the phone with Mike Zullo, and in the middle of the conversation, his phone was beeping in. Somebody was trying to call him, and he looked at it, and he came on the phone. He said, "Carl," he said, "this is so-and-so," and he gave the name. He said, that OBOT, so-and-so. I said, "Yeah." And he said, "He's calling me." He said, "I don't know what this is about." He said, "Stay on the phone. I want you to witness this conversation." I said, "Okay." I said, "Do you want me to say anything? Do you want me to, He said, nope, just be my witness." I said, "Okay, I will." So the long and short of it, Michael, and you can ask me questions, but I'll just get cut to the chase. The long and short of it was OBOT comes on the phone, and he has Mike Zullo's phone number because he had asked a couple of years ago, I think, for Zullo to come on a radio show and debate him. And Mike Zullo wouldn't do it because, again, the guy's just irrelevant and a little fish in a great big pond. And Mike wouldn't do it. But that's how the guy had Zullo's phone number. So the guy comes on the phone, and just cutting to the chase, he launches into Mike Zullo with all these ad hominem attacks of you're ignorant, you're a liar, you're not a real investigator. I mean, just launched into him. And then starts demanding answers from Mike Zullo. He said, I want to know, is Carl Gallups an official spokesperson for you? Is Carl Gallups a spokesperson? Now, the reason he was asking that question, Michael, is because just a few days earlier, Mike Zullo and I had done an interview, and in fact, I think I posted it on P.P. Simmons Radio. Perhaps it was on Freedom Friday. I don't remember. I interview so many people, but it had to do with the fact that the Zullo Cold Case Posse Arpaio investigation has turned a corner now. Now a whole new little branch of investigation is opened up, and several OBOTs have become deep persons of interest. And amazingly, ironically, it's all over this Xerox machine debacle that they kept insisting was their golden bullet. But as the investigation unfolded on that allegation, some new information came to light, and some correlations and connections were made once they began to investigate at a deep level, and that's all I can say as to how they're doing it. But at a very deep level, they were astounded at some of the connections that they have made with some of these OBOTs to, and I'm just going to be very careful here, to some very important people and institutions across this land. So when that was discovered, that opened up the investigation even deeper. And so Mike Zullo and I were generally speaking about that, as I said, on P.P. Simmons Radio or Freedom Friday, I don't remember. And apparently that, and plus I've done some interviews across the nation in various talk radio markets about it. So apparently that OBOT heard one of those interviews and called up Mike Zullo and said, is Carl Gallups an official spokesperson for you? And then he literally said to Mike Zullo, I heard him ask, I want to know, am I a suspect? Am I a person of interest? And, of course, Mike Zullo's answer to the guy was, look, I don't even know if I'm really talking to you. I don't know who this is. I'm not going to give you any information. I'm not answering any questions. I'm not doing an interview with you over the phone. And eventually Mike had to hang up on him because the guy just got out irate and was using vulgarity. And it was quite amazing. It was a little surreal, Michael. I don't mind telling you.
Well, Carl, thank you for the update there. I appreciate the update there, Carl. I was aware of most what you just said, and it's just I don't know why he would be calling Zulu. Are we getting close? Are we getting hot? I can tell you this, Carl. The sheriff's kit, every day I mail a kit out, 2 kits, 3 kits. Every day the kits are downloaded. I wanted to say this at the beginning of the show. Carl, it's not over because Congress is back. in Washington, because we have a crisis right now with a president that doesn't know what day it is to do over there in Syria. It's not over. Actually, Carl, it's going strong. I think people who are thinking or thought about it and missed the opportunity to meet with their congressman, the kids call every day. I just got one ready. I mailed out 3 yesterday. I have 2 more to go out. I have a couple more to help people download. They're going out every single day, and it's not over, Carl. And probably the Obats are feeling the pressure, I guess, as we get closer and closer to this, and they're probably afraid we're going to expose them.
Yeah, well, Michael, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head. First of all, thank you for the amazing work you're doing through your blog radio program, your website, and the sheriff kits, and your interaction and engagement, your personal engagement in this is amazing. God bless you for that. But yes, it's surreal to me. Why would this guy call Mike Zulu out of the clear blue like that? I mean, I can only think of a few logical reasons. I mean, I could be wrong. These are just my opinions. Number one, the guy might have a screw loose or two. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to be derogatory. I don't know the man. But, I mean, what would possess an innocent person to call the lead investigator in a case concerning criminal activities in the White House and demand to know if you are a suspect? I mean, that's just surreal, unless you've got a screw loose. Or, Michael, unless you're somehow connected to this thing. Perhaps he knows who does it, who fabricated the birth certificate, and he's connected to the person. Or perhaps he's the person that fabricated the birth certificate. I mean, there are only 2 or 3 or 4 logical scenarios as to why you would just call up the lead investigator of a criminal case of this nature, cuss the man out, call him a liar and a fraud, and then demand to know if you're a suspect. It just blows my mind. But I suspect, Michael, that you're right. We have a southern phrase down here, a little southern slang down here along the Gulf Coast. When you throw a rock amongst a bunch of dogs, the one that you hit is the one that squeals. And so I think that's probably what has happened.
I heard that last week when you said that, Carl. Yeah, that's true. Carl, I want to take 2 quick phone calls here, Carl. My call screener, Mona. Thank you, Mona, for being in the call screening room tonight. I appreciate it. Mona sent me a correction. It was 2007 that Obama made that speech. Carl, I have one call. I'm going to put him on very quickly. He's a loyal listener. He works with me. His name is Ed. He's from Norfolk, Virginia, and he wants to know. I'm going to put him on the air in a second. He's going to ask you a question about Congressman Stockman. Okay, yes. Ed, you're on the air with Carl Gallups.
Oh, hello, Carl.
Hello, Ed. God bless you. Thank you for being on today.
Yeah, I don't know what Mike, he said the question was about Congressman Stockman. Not really. The question is, Carl, a lot of us don't feel like that Zulu and Team Arpaio, I mean, that they're like moving with this thing, but they're not stepping up with this thing and taking action, because we remember way back, what was it, February or March, when you and Mike Zuma went to CPAC?
Yeah. Yes, it was. March or April, I think.
Yeah. Well, back about that time, we heard from you and some from Zulu, too, that, so many VIPs were coming on board, and these were wealthy VIPs, and they could move this thing into a state or federal court, and they had the power to get this into the media and make this thing move. And it's been like around 6 months or so, and we've seen absolutely nothing, Carl. Absolutely zero.
Yeah, well, listen,
thanks for the question, Ed.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. May I address that, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ed, first of all, thank you so much for asking that question. And because it is a matter of, first of all, I want to get all the facts straight here and then give your listeners, Michael, the perspective. Please remember, folks, that the initial investigation, when it was completed and brought by Sheriff Arpaio and Mike Zullo to the public, and a national press conference was called by Sheriff Arpaio because he had done this massive investigation on the birth certificate, And Sheriff Arpaio at that press conference announced to the world 2 years ago, over 2 years ago now, I think, that he had set out to vindicate Obama, to prove that Obama's birth certificate was indeed valid. And after this investigation, it turns out that Arpaio couldn't say that. And so he brought forth the evidence that the birth certificate was an absolute fraud. Well, remember what happened. The news media shut it down and refused to report it because Arpaio didn't give them what they thought they were going to get. They thought they were going to get this Arizona sheriff that was going to come on board and vindicate Obama, and the news media was going to stick their finger in the eye of every so-called birther across the land. Now, remember, that happened years ago. Well, remember, Arpaio was just dumbstruck. He was overwhelmed. I mean, here's a 50-year lawman, 30-something years at the federal level. Doing his job, he uncovers one of the biggest frauds in American history, perhaps human history, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to report it. Nobody wants to deal with it. So immediately Arpaio starts, trying to get a hold of congressmen and federal courts and all of his connections to deal with this, and nobody will touch it. So it went on hold for about a year and a half. I mean, they kept investigating, they kept digging, they kept finding more and more stuff. They were overwhelmed how deep and dark and dirty this thing went, but nobody would touch it. And then remember, Ed, you said way back in March. Well, it's just been a handful of months ago when, remember, prior to that, nothing was happening. Nothing was moving. Nobody would talk to anybody about it. But just a handful of months ago, Mike Zullo and I decided we'd make one last-ditch effort and try to bring some people on board, Ed. And so we did, and I believe God opened some doors and led us into the offices of people who finally listened to us. Congressman Steve Stockman was one of them who sat down with us for hours. There were others. And so the bottom line is, Ed, here's where we are now. The investigation's still going forward. We have persons of interest now. Mike Zullo is on top of this every day. They've dealt with the whole Xerox machine debacle, and boy, we've got some surprising information there when that comes forward. In the meantime, of course, Congress has been in and out, dealing with Benghazi and dealing with Syria, and then, of course, they were on recess, and we had to wait for that, and other businesses going on. And in the meantime, Steve Stockman has been apparently recruiting other congressmen because we had Ted Yoho that came out and said that he had been recruited and was coming on board, a couple of other congressmen. In the meantime, Michael Volin has been involved in sheriff's kits and seeing congressmen. Mike Zullo has been meeting with VIPs, Ed. He has not fibbed to you, nor have I. He's been meeting with people who are power brokers and folks that have money and can make some things happen. But the bottom line is, this kind of thing, I mean, we're talking about the presidency of the United States. We're talking about the White House. We're talking about Supreme Court that won't look at it. We're talking about a Congress that heretofore has not even looked at this. We're talking about a media that has shut it down. We're talking about maybe the crime of the century. And in the last handful of months, Ed, we have made huge strides. This thing is moving forward. And I can promise you that Mike Zullo, Sheriff Arpaio, are going to move it forward as far as they can take it. Their goal is to get it to a congressional investigation. If that happens, it will blow this thing wide open. If it doesn't happen, let's say Stockman backs out or some other congressmen back out. Let's say everybody just gets cold feet and doesn't deal with it. Then we have a plan B. And I don't want to give it all away right now, but Zullo and Arpaio have talked about it at length. Mike and I have talked about it. Other people who are involved in this. We have a plan B to get every piece of evidence that they have, and it's amazing what they have that they haven't even released, not counting the affidavit that's been released with 200 points of evidence, but they will release every bit of it in a multifaceted releasing fashion, and they will release it to the world so that it will then come before the scrutiny of the world. And I'm sure that once some eyes see it that have not seen it, I'm sure the outrage will be just tremendous. So the bottom line, Ed, just hang in there, be patient, be prayerful. Zullo's not lying to you. This thing is moving along. It's getting deeper and deeper and darker, And people are making promises to us that they're going to move it to a congressional investigation, and all we can do is wait for them to keep their promise. If they keep it, you will see the results of it. If they don't keep it, then Mike Zullo has a plan B.
Well, thank you, Carl. And Ed, as you already know, like Carl said, it seemed like the investigation slowed down. It never actually came to a halt. And
No.
I was in touch with Mike before I released the sheriff's kit, and I actually got in touch with Mike, and I came up with the idea. I said, Mike, I want to do the sheriff's kit thing. And he smiled, and he said, I like it. And I actually asked him if it was okay, because I didn't want to step in the investigation or block any kind of information. And I'm not taking credit for anything. I'm giving credit to everybody that got a sheriff's kit, that went to their congressman, that did the right thing. It's moving, and that's why the Obots are scared. They are scared that we're going to step on the wrong foot, that we're going to get to the wrong congressman. I appreciate everything. Carl, you've done a great job with Mike in getting the information out there. It's moving, and I want to encourage everybody stay with the sheriff's kit. Carl, I have one more call I'd like you to speak to.
Okay.
His name is Ed Sutherland. He's on my website. I put his picture on tonight. He actually went to meet his congressman. He contacted me. He got a sheriff's kit. And actually, Carl, I arranged a telephone conference call between him, Congressman Michael Burgess of Texas, and Mike Zulu, who gave information to the congressman. And with that call, I am going to bring Ed Sunderland on the line. And if my switchboard would be cooperative, let's try this again. Ed, you're on the line with Carl Gallup.
Oh, good evening, Carl. Good to talk to you.
Good evening, Ed. It's my honor to talk to you.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thoroughly appreciate the work that you guys are doing, and I personally know how hard it is because I had a fight with the Texas Attorney General, Secretary of State down here, and decided to go with the sheriff's kit, and I know how hard it is to get meetings with congressmen and get in front of them and talk to them and try to put your point across and actually get some action.
Right.
And that's the hardest part is getting action, getting them to get out their can and do something, But and I appreciate the help that Mike Volin did in hooking me up with Mike Zullo so that he could talk to my congressman. He did have a question specifically, and it was about the archives that Mike graciously handled for him, and I thoroughly appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I thank you guys for what you're doing. It's an incredible adventure, and I can't thank you enough. But my question was originally, I think I'm the Ed that Mike was thinking about first. I was curious as if you guys had managed to set up another appointment with Stockman for an interview. Yeah. Have you managed to do that yet?
Well, the answer to that is not yet, but it's in the works. And what's interesting about that, Ed, is that we had him lined up. He was coming on the show,
right?
And then his plane trip.
Yeah,
you remember all that.
And
the deal. Yeah, and the deal is that he was in the airport calling, trying to get back in on the show because his plane got canceled. But by then, Mike Zullo was already on, and we had callers on the line, and he couldn't get on. So Congressman Stockman is not trying to avoid us. I mean, he literally tried hard to get back in on the show that day.
Right.
But we have just not been able to reschedule it since then because it's hard for him on Fridays to get on the show because that's usually when he's flying in and out of Washington. But they've assured us that they're going to do their very best. He does want to come on the show and share some things with us. So we're working on it.
Well, Carl, what else can we do to help out as listeners and as citizens? We're trying with the sheriff's kits. I make phone calls every single day to my congressman and senator every day. It's going to be every day now I'm going to be on the phone. But usually at least once a week I call Cornyn, I call Cruz, I call Michael Burgess, and I'm pushing as hard as I can. But what else can we do beyond that?
Okay, well, thank you. Well, first of all, I come from a biblical worldview. I'm a Christian, and I'm not pressing my faith on you or anyone else, but I would encourage people of faith to cover this thing in prayer. I believe that God works mightily through prayer, so cover it in prayer, number one. Number two, stay engaged, be patient, don't give up. Number three, make phone calls like you said, and write letters. Don't just send emails, but write letters. Type and write letters. Send them through snail mail. The congressmen have to deal with that. And, it's so easy to delete an email. Just go down, click, 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 delete, delete,
sure.
delete. But when they get the mail delivered and a box of letters comes in, you know, those have to be opened. I mean, the secretary can't just dump them. They don't know there might be money in it. You know, I mean, they have to.
They can only wish, huh?
That's right. They have to open those letters, and it is an overwhelming thing. Listen, I've been in touch with some very powerful people in Washington who have assured me that letters and phone calls turn the heads of congressmen. So people, you know, the sheriff kit is hugely important, making appointments with your congressman, letting them know that this is not going to go away. I'm telling you, let's just say that Steve Stockman just totally drops the ball on this and walks away from it. You know, there are people saying, oh, well, then it'll be over. No, this case does not hinge on Steve Stockman's integrity in this. Steve Stockman has promised us he's going to do something. We're counting on him to do it. But if he doesn't, there is a plan B. This thing is not going to go away. Mike Zullo, Sheriff Arpaio, and a bunch of other people who are involved in this, we're sitting on the top of the crime of the century. It is not going to go away. And people just need to resign themselves to the fact, Ed, that it might even be after, Obama's out of office before this is dealt with. I hope not, but it could be. But the bottom line is, this is not going to go away. A monumental crime has been committed, maybe several crimes, that goes directly to our constitutional republic, and we're going to make sure that this is dealt with.
Ed, thank you for the call, Ed. I'm going to put you on hold for a minute and move on with the show. Ed, there's one more thing that we can do, Ed, and that is, and I'm going to launch this on my website, is follow up. We're now going to follow up. Ed, you're on the website. I put pictures up on my website, where'sobamansbirthcertificate.com. You can all see the gentleman that just came on the air, Ed Sunderland, with Congress Michael C. Burgess from Texas. Ed's actually in his office one-on-one, face-to-face. Ed, we can follow up with phone calls. We've given the kids, give them a week or 2, 3 weeks, call back, say, where's the information? How are you proceeding? Do you need anything more? Call again till you get an answer. Call till you get a yes or a no. A yes, we're proceeding, which would be great, or a no, we've decided not to, and ask why. Take notes, get back to me. We'll make full reports. We'll put it out on the air and put the information out. The next step, Ed, is besides I told you to get your relatives, friends, everybody, trying to get the sheriff's kids out there, but make follow-up phone calls and let everybody know that you're making follow-up phone calls and keep everybody here, at least, Ed, advised of what's going on. That's a true patriot call.
Yes, he sure is. And God bless you, Michael. Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight.
Do you have any more time, call?
Maybe 5 more minutes. I mean, really, I do have to go. I'm way over time now. But did you have another caller or you had another question?
Well, I don't have anybody queued up except my 2 call screeners in the room. Why don't you tell everybody, Carl, where they can find you, your information? I know you're on 1330 WEBY every Friday. It's Freedom Friday.
Yeah, the easiest way to find out everything about me, the books that I've written, my radio show, the church that I pastor, the P.P. Simmons News and Ministry sites that I'm the founder of, everything is at carlgallops.com, carlgallops.com. And I want to encourage people that are interested in that story of the book, The Rabbi That Found the Messiah, to go ahead and pre-order it on Amazon, ASAP, and get in line to get your book early. And as I said, the documentary movie is coming right behind it with Messianic Rabbi Jonathan Cahn in the movie with me.
Well, thank you, Carl. I have one more call here before you go. I guess you have 5 more minutes here. I'm going to put Ann on. Ann's been a follower. She's been with me on the website since almost day 1 call. And she's actually in the screening room, screening the calls. And, Ann, you're on the line with Carl Gals. Do you have a question?
Hi, Carl.
Hello, Ann.
You've heard, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. God bless you, Ann.
Thank you. I'm a little under the weather. I got quite a cold going on. But please excuse me if I'm not clear. I am just thrilled about the video Mike found, and I will be posting it and placing it everywhere. I know that WND says that there's breaking news, and they're posting that everywhere. Are you aware of what their breaking news is?
You mean breaking news tonight?
No, they say huge breaking news coming. and
Okay.
it's got to do with Sheriff Arpaio.
Okay, and WND has that breaking news. Are they running that story tonight or that announcement tonight? I'm sorry,
They put that announcement out. They haven't ran any stories. They just said it's coming.
Okay, when did
So I
they
didn't
say that,
know.
Ann? When did they say that, Ann?
It's on today. It's on their website today.
Okay, well, I will check
Carl,
and see.
the headline on the birthday report says, Team Arpaio at WND, new earth-shattering developments will be soon announced.
Huh, okay, well,
Correct.
that's interesting. Well, I've been doing interviews all afternoon, and now it's getting late into the night, so I have not researched that. I'm not familiar with where that's going, but I know that that they work pretty closely with Arpaio and Zulo, so if there's some new information coming out, perhaps WND knows about it.
Okay, I'm
Okay, I
reading
was
this from the
just
birthday
kind of
report. It
curious.
says, is the biggest Obama scandal yet to hit. Major new development eligibility case promised by investigators. WND email.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I do know that there are some major new developments. I'm not at liberty to talk about them, so it could be that Arpaio and Zulo are getting ready to release some of the information that I know about to WND. That would be great. I hope they do.
Well, it's
Okay,
not a
thank
better
you,
day
Ann,
to
for the
do it on than tomorrow.
Thanks for the call, Ed. Well, there you have it, Carl. Things are developing as we speak. I know Mike never really stops. He has very little time during the day to do anything else but this.
Well, I hope there's something to that. I've been out of the news loop today because I've been doing interviews all day, so I don't really know what she's talking about. But if WND is getting ready to release some major new information, then it would have to come from Arpaio and Zulo, I would guess. And where did you say that headline?
I got it from birthdayReport.com. It was posted a little while ago.
Okay. Well, I'll investigate it and find out. I'll give Mike Zulo a call and find out what he knows about it. But right now, I don't have any information to give your listeners.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. Carl, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I had a lot of requests for you. People wanted to ask that question about Steve Stockman, and they always want an update about the investigation. It is moving forward. I know each day something new is uncovered. I know the sheriff's kit are really working. We have Mike Zulu's back. Mike could only go a certain distance. He is investigating, but we need to bring this forward. We are the people. We are the ones that elected our government officials to do their job, and we are doing the job for them right now because they can't. Their hands are either tied. But my people, Carl, are out there. They obviously care about this country. They're getting the sheriff's kit. They're sitting down politely with their congressman. They're getting Mike Zulu on conference calls to speak to them. We are doing this one congressman at a time, Paul.
Right. I know, and again, God bless you, Michael, for what you're doing, and thank you again for having me on the show tonight. And yes, as I have information that I am at liberty to share, I would be honored to come on your show and share it with your listeners. And I appreciate all that you and your listeners are doing. God bless you, Michael.
Thank you, Carl, and the chat room is packed tonight. Have a good night, Carl. I appreciate it.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.